Hello everyone, welcome back to RCH Builders. So we have pretty much wrapped up just about the outside other than gutters and paint. So wanted to give you a update video on that. We've done just a couple things on this house on the original part. Basically we added, there's little 2x4s we added up underneath this handrail and refastened it. This handrail was sagging because there was no support anywhere across here to keep that up. So we added that. We added on the other two handrails, we did the same thing. Other than that, we repaired on the front of the house. We repaired one of these little 1x2s up here that's behind that drip flashing. And we replaced on this side, right here, you can see we replaced this bottom 2x4, was pretty well rotted out. So that's basically all we had to do with the original part of the house to get it ready for paint. Other than the guy who's painting, pressure washing it, doing any scraping and any of that stuff that he has to do, but that's part of the paint job. This is something right here, so I may throw in some shots of what we did. I had mostly Tyler and my father working on it, but this whole screened in porch and stairwell and everything, I did take a few pictures here and there while they were working on it. But so basically what we've got here on the bottom, we simply added, and I'll go underneath actually so you can see it, and then we'll back up and you'll get a whole view of the whole thing. So just basically in between each of the 6x6s, you got 6x6 post here and there, we just added a little bit of, it's not structural, but it's just something to nail these 1x4 slats to. So we just basically, just these 2x4s are 2 foot on center, the little block to go down. We just added that underneath is all. The door, of course, is not supported that way, but that's a whole nother thing. We'll talk about that in a second. But so we did that, and then there is screen back here. If I get close enough, you can see the little tiny squares. So there's the screen is there, which helps keep bugs from getting from down here up to the upper screen porch. Also, there's a screen layer. There's a layer screen that is between the framing for the floor joist and the 1x decking boards up top. So it's kind of a double layer to make sure to help keep bugs from getting in there. But we did that, and then we've got 1x4s going. We just got a trim board here and on the side, and then there's 1x4s in between with basically a 2x4 space, like 1 5/8, because that's what roughly pressure treated is. 1 5/8 inch in between each one to help tie it in. Over here, where the brick of the original house is not level, had to do a little bit. Once this is all painted and caulked, it'll look even better. But we've got quad, it's 100% silicone to help fill some of the gap, and then when it got too big, I had to rip at an angle a piece of decking board to go in there. So I wanted to use a pressure treated decking board for two purposes. One, it's water rain will get here. Two, it'll blend with this when it's all stained. So this is going to get stained based off the historical district. Everything will be stained from this 1x, this entire deck, all the way up to, you can see right about here, there is a little bit of white. So that is the transition between where it will be stained and where it will be painted the white that the historic district requires. This stain that was approved is ebony semi-transparent, so it'll be a little bit visible, the wood grain through it and everything, but it will almost be a paint, but not quite. So it will be mostly painted, but at least it will have a little bit of a stained look to it. We've got our landing here that we had to do. Made sure that when we did this and we came around that these line up going down through there. Of course, for that, that's just a wrap there, and then had to rip the one on the top of the landing there to make sure it landed with this one. But so it's all screened in. I did go ahead and I set this in place. I have not locked it in with dirt or nothing, because I want the painter to be able to move this so that he can make sure he gets that seal, gets it real good all the way down to the ground. So I'll wait till he stains this entire deck before I actually start backfilling here. But that drain is how that will go out through there, and then we'll have to tie into the whole drainage system later. But got our post here for our stairs. Also, of course, up here for the screen, what we did, so these pickets are actually 1.5 inches apart, 1 5/8 actually, a 2x4 pressure treated spacing that goes in between there, and you'll be able to see it better on the inside. But there's a piece of crown right there on the inside, and it's both on this side of the pickets and the other side, and then there's a decking board on top, and then the screen goes all the way across there, and then we trimmed it out with pressure treated 1x. So this is a 1x6, and the way that we did it, if you look up at the top, you'll see how it's notched right there, so that this one sits on top of this one, and then it goes straight across from there. It goes all the way across the corner and sits on top of that. And then the next layer down, again, it's notched in. You can see it's notched in there, and then the middle, it's notched in both ways. So this is to try and I did this to try to keep it, the bottom is not notched that way. You'll see it's just butt end cut to a cut. The reason I did this is because it's a slight modification of the way that this screen would have been done historically back in the day. The difference is they would have ran this all the way up, and then they would have just butt cut and butt cut. The reason I don't want to do that, and I've added this little modification, very slight, but I think it looks good, personally, is because over time with weather and everything, these middle ones always end up starting to droop and bow. So that just locks it in place so that it can't do that. So that's the screen. The screen goes, of course, all the way across there. You can see it up top. Same setup. And you got the door there. The pickets for the stairwell are actually 2 inches instead of 1 5/8. It's just what came out better with spacing on them. And down the handrail, for the handrail, we did a little bit of difference. So you can see that we got the crown here on the outside, but these pickets are closer to the inside, so there's not enough room for the crown on the inside. That's by design, and I'll explain that. So in here, this is just a 1x that I ripped down to 2.5. It basically comes down to the same height as the crown and hides all the back side of the crown and everything, and still ties it in. There's a little bit of a lip here, which is good. I like that. It's about a 1/4 inch or so. But the reason that this is set this way is because by code, for this to count as a handrail that they can grip onto, you have to be able to let your fingers grip here. If this was centered like it is up top, the crown comes to about here, and that's not considered enough for you to grab a hold of. Of course, I'm grabbing a hold of it in reverse. You know, your hand would grab this way, but they don't consider enough for your fingers to grab onto otherwise. So we had to leave that like that for that purpose. So just a little bit of modification, just we don't have the crown on the inside, we have another little trim piece there. We've cut this, sanded it all down to round it off. handrail going up through. We'll go upstairs, look at the deck. You've seen the siding, so I'm probably not going to go around the house there. I may, of course, get a shot from back farther with the whole deck done so you can see the whole thing. But as far as that goes, you've seen it. The door here, got 2 large hinges. We will be putting a handle on it, but I'm just going to wait until after he stains it. It's just less things that he needs to work around. So, but we've built it out of, we got a 2x4 laid flat this way, and then for support we have a 2x6 this direction. And the reason I do a 2x6 here is because it gives more meat for the hinge, because the hinge always goes long. More meat for that hinge to grab a hold of. But doing this, basically the stiff neck version, which is where you have one member this way and this way, it helps keep this from ever bowing, which is an issue that I see a lot with gates and doors that people build outside. For some reason, they never do that, and then they always end up bowing and getting warped. And when that's all you got to do is just do that to help hold that. Then we also got our little cross member, which I do see people do a lot, but I see them do it wrong too often. When you're doing this, what you want to do is you want to decide, okay, so the hinge is on this side of the door. Whichever side of the door your hinges are going to be on, that's where the bottom needs to be. Because that's your set point that is supported. And then you want to help hold the top corner up based off of there. If you put it over here, then you have that weight from this corner being pressed down into this corner, but there's nothing keeping this corner from dropping because there's no hinge there. So I've seen this get put in backwards a lot. So that's something to think about when you're doing this and making sure that you put that, the bottom needs to go on the side where your hinges are. So not a big deal, just figured I'd mention it. We added this one in here. This is not always needed, but it's because of the size of the hinges I put in. They're a really large hinge. And so right about here is where the last bolt is. So we needed something for that to grab a hold of. So we just added that, but it's completely hidden behind the 1x4. You don't see it. It doesn't, from the outside, the design does not look any different top to bottom. Looks nice and straight. And I'll put a piece of also weather stripping in there to help keep the bugs out from getting around the edge of it, of course. But again, I'll do that after he's done with the staining and painting. It just will make it easier for him without the little things that he doesn't want to paint being in the way. Stairs, of course, going up the stairs here to the deck. Again, same thing. We got our pieces notched, all trimmed out. Screen door put in. Multiple different styles of screen doors that you can get, of course, or build. This one right here we put in because the homeowner, he's got a large dog, and he was thinking of maybe putting a dog door inside the screen. And these slats that came on it are probably going to be pretty close to a large dog door opening. If not, they should be able to be just kind of cut, slid, and modified to where it would work without having to change the whole screen setup. But screen door, I did already put in window door stop, which is handmade. I handmade this right here because we need it a little thicker than normal. But inside here, screen porch can be all sealed off. It's technically sealed except for right at the screen, and that's just because I still need to put a little piece of weather stripping behind that window door stop. But again, I'll do that after the paint is done. But the only thing that we technically have to do here is we need to put the ceiling fan in. So, but this is what we did. handrails again. Just rounded everything off to try and make it neat. These nail holes, after a couple rains, will swell and they'll disappear, basically. Plus, when it's stained with the semi-transparent ebony, it's going to almost disappear anyway, because that is going to be very close. It's going to be a very, very dark stain, almost not see-through at all, but ever so slightly. So this is a shot. So this is a shot right here of the back of the house. Addition basically finished with all our little decorative pieces, screen and everything. The only other thing that really you'll need to see, I just wanted to get a shot before everything's painted so you can see that. And then if anyone was to do this, and weren't in a historical district, this is a nice little idea, but you could do it with actual stain or whatever you wanted. But we still have to put in a concrete pad over here. We still got to slope and grade all this once the painting is done. So a few things out here to do still. We got to put the gutters in, and we got to put in the whole drainage system, and we still have this great big pile of dirt to spread out, move. A lot of it will get used to grade all this out, grade out for the concrete pad, fill this little hole that's still here from the drain, and then a lot of it can just be spread out. And we still have a good bit of wood left over. Some of it is the siding that we took off the original house that we saved in case we had to repair any of the actual siding, but it looks like I don't think we're going to need that, which is good. We have lots of the siding. We still got plenty of siding left over that we used on the house. I might actually, whenever we do the winery job, they may want to use that as a decorative feature on the inside. We'll see. And then I got some of the longer 2x8s that we used for the rafters that I will probably use at our house flip #1 project that we have. I might use that for the drop beams since they're so long and we don't need them elsewhere, and they will work really good for doing that. So that at least is an up-to-date, up-to-speed video as far as where we are on the outside. But a lot of stuff done, completed there. Getting really close to the end of this project. Few things left on the inside still. We got the flooring to put downstairs and a little bit more painting. The last bit of the tile, plumbing fixtures to put in. But hopefully we will be done with this job shortly. I know I got quite a few customers that are wanting me to move on to other things. And I may actually have to leave Tyler here to do a lot of stuff on this alone while I go knock out some of that stuff. So, but hope you enjoyed watching. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you the next time.